Well, hey all, and welcome back. Today I have one of the highlights of my trip from South Korea, the Dinoid Warrior from Miniforce. My kids kind of schooled me a little bit on what Miniforce is. I've seen some scenes of it, largely some little cute animals like so, that turn into something that looks like Power Rangers. However, they explained to me that they are going into mini mech suits. However, later those mech suits will pilot these big mech suits. Kind of Gurren Lagann-ish. Anyway, regardless of all that, this mecha looks awesome. Now, we'll go ahead and look at the packaging, which barely survived the trip here. I hand carried it all the way here from South Korea, and it did pretty well up until I got to customs in Vancouver, where they proceeded to drop kick it and smash it through the x-ray machine. That said, it did make it undamaged, but the box is not going to be mint. Doesn't really matter. Really just want to show you guys the box before I toss it out. Now, the Dinoid Warrior itself is the mech that we've seen, and we'll kind of get into that, but it has all these additional upgrades that I did get to see here in South Korea at Toys R Us. And I'll show you a little clip. They had so much on display there. It was such a cool thing to see. I actually want to do a guide possibly to buying toys in South Korea and maybe to help people who visit there and want to hunt for their own stuff. Now, going back to the packaging, we have the side there and the back of this epic looking mech. It's got a vehicle, which kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the Takara Tomy mecha series that are non-transformers that they do. And he turns into a T-Rex. Then, of course, on the side, we have more art. And that's really the gist of it. We have art all the way around. But like I said, this thing it was one of the top things on my list. I never have gotten a real chance to get into Korean robots because they're so expensive when we import them here. But I was there. It was still a little costly. I'd say you're looking at somewhere in the $80 range in the US to get it from a mainline toy store. But regardless of the cost, let's go ahead and get out of the packaging and see if it's worthy of our collection. And here we have the Dinoid Warrior out of the packaging, and I have a couple things to say about the packaging. One, it is no nonsense. There's no ties, there's no weird things you have to fight with. It's just a clamshell, and the items are inside. It is so nice not to have to fight with a package and destroy it or deal with it to get a toy out. Next, look at this guy. He is massive. He looks awesome. I'm going to have to shoot him largely in wide angle, just so we can see the whole thing. But before we go into that, I want to go ahead and talk about what's included. We have the figure itself. We have a sword. We have this heavy little metal coin here. I don't know if it has any intended function other than collecting, but it is something that's nice for those who probably watch the show. And lastly, we have instructions that are even bigger than this massive figure. And it shows what's included. It explains, actually, if we look back here, we can see that the coin goes in the back. So we'll mess with that later. At the back of it here, it's a little flimsy. It's sort of like a magazine quality paper. However, it's fine. It does the job. But it explains the transformation and the combination of parts and whatnot. And then we have a preview of the full combined modes, which is pretty cool as well. So we'll go ahead and pull back a little bit and show you guys the aesthetic of this guy. The design really leaves an impression. There's so much going on here. You could probably argue that some of it is maybe inspired from other series. However, it is fairly unique. We have some really interesting ways of handling the knee pads here, which are the feet of the dino mode. We have the dino head that protrudes. We have a really cool helmet. A little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say Gundam, but it does have some qualities that you would probably pull from the Gundam series. Cool sword. The chunkiness kind of reminds me of a little bit of older Transformers, but really actually other Takara lines, which we'll kind of go into. So let's go ahead and compare them with a few other figures and see what I mean by what it gets from other series. And here's Dinoid with Leader Class Grimlock, and you can see here that Grimlock is pretty dwarfed by him. Also, as far as like details and color separations and things like that, it kind of feels like there's a lot more going on with this Miniforce figure than there is the Transformers. Now, the Transformer figure is meant to sort of pull back to the animation, and it is intentionally sort of simplified to that degree to really resemble the character model. But looking at the two, you're getting a whole lot for your money with the Miniforce figure. This figure actually has a lot more in common with the Dinoid, and that is because it also has a head that comes from a car that plugs into the torso. This is the Tamiya Head Drive series, which also has a bit of the similar plastic fill. I do feel like, even though there is a little bit of a correlation between Transformers, things like the Tamiya series definitely are more directly of an inspiration for these Korean robots. Another good comparison is the Takara Earthgrainer series, which also has a vehicle that does plug into the torso, but the head is incorporated in the mecha suit. But these also have a similar plastic quality and closer to the scale. Another note is these all have 5mm ports on them, so any figure that has 5mm ports, like Transformers Weaponizers and or these Earthgrainer series, you can take the parts and plug them in onto the Miniforce mecha. Now let's go ahead and jump into articulation. I think a great place to start is the kneeling pose. A lot of modern mecha can't pull this off because they can't get the front leg up enough and the back leg flat enough to actually pull off the pose. This can, largely because we have this adjustable knee here that comes from the transformation into the dino leg, and there's a little joint here. Now, I don't know if I would suggest doing this because it is a small joint in there, and I don't want to risk breakage, but I want to show it could do it. Now let's go ahead and jump into the full articulation of this figure. So on the ankle, we have a pretty good tilt, a little bit of forward and back, not a whole lot. We have a heel that can move, that's largely for transformation. We have rotation at the thigh. We have a decent bend at the knee. We actually have two joints in the hip. There is a primary one, but then we have this other one here you could probably use to adjust the stance, but most likely it's for transformation. If you move the skirt forward, we can go back about so, and we can go forward about so. So yeah, then this moves out of the way if needed, but it's also part of transformation. The rotation there. We have an ab crunch, which was unexpected. Rotation at the waist. The back parts are on ball joints for these blades here. They actually extend, so they telescope and retract. These come off as well. We have a full 360 at that shoulder. And then inside the shoulder, we have movement there. Rotation at the bicep. A decent elbow. And then hands have articulated fingers, which is a nice touch. Or at least the main fingers. The thumb seems to be fixed. They're fairly tight, but they do come out like so. And then we have a wedge here to hold the sword. And then at the head, we can spin back in the frame. We can spin and we can look up. And actually part of the transformation allows it to look in a little bit more. So all in all, lots of good articulation on this guy. And here we have the T-Rex mode. In addition to that, we have his primary head unit, which is this vehicle here. I like the front, where we kind of have his teeth as the grille. And we sort of have more of a Super Sentai looking vehicle on the profile and top. But overall, not bad. Wheels roll, holds together pretty well. And then our T-Rex itself has plenty of articulation in the arms, and same in the legs. And it's got a tail, mouth opens, head can look around. So this is pretty cool. Now it is a little bit more cartoony compared to the mech mode. However, all the parts still combine and it does a pretty good job. Being a tripod, it stands pretty well, but it is very tail heavy because this is where the sword is and the back wings. They just snap on the arms. But transformation is fairly simple. The aesthetic is pretty cool, and it's just a nice addition to this very cool mech. As for my final thoughts on this figure, I really think this is a great design. It has a great aesthetic, nice color separation, really well thought out. It has very solid joints with nice clickety ratchets all the way through, and it's able to hold some good poses and really look natural holding those poses. The transformation isn't overly complicated, and everything holds together fairly well. A couple things kind of fall off, like with the back blades, but that's nothing too terrible as you can just easily put them back on. So anyway, let us know in the comments below if this is worthy of your collection, like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.